All right, welcome back, folks, to the SEC Media Days here in Hoover, Alabama. By the way, we do want to remind you we're going to be giving away a pair of tickets to see Ted Nugent at the Pompano Beach Amphitheater with King. No, I'm sorry, with, what is it? Jackal opening up. Exactly, Jackal. What's the name of that Full Throttle Saloon Bar, whatever? He's part of that, which is a trip of a show. But anyway, so we'll be giving away a pair of tickets to go see the Madman from Detroit. We were able to catch up with Dari Nowkhah, who is one of the lead guys at the SEC Network, and Joe Z was able to talk a little football with him.
All right, Orlando, joining us now, Dari Nowkhah from ESPN and the SEC Network, and really kind of the voice of the SEC Network. Dari, thanks for being with us.
You got it. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I told Orlando Alzagari the other day, I went to the College World Series. Miami got eliminated. I took a nap, and I woke up, and it's college football season.
And we were just talking about that upstairs. I can't believe it's been a year since we did this. It just, when you think back of all the things that have happened, it seems like a year ago. When you walk down Radio Row here, it seems like a month ago. It is unreal. And people always ask, like, you must be fired up for football. And I always say the same thing. I love it more than any sport in the world, college football. I love it. But I don't want to rush it, man. Like, let's enjoy summer. Let's go to the beach. Let's get a little more sleep. Let's relax. It'll get here. And when it does, it'll kick our tails. And until then, let's just enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, the tidal wave is on the way.
Yeah.
So what are your expectations of this conference this year? They had quite a year last year, national champions, did a lot of damage in the bowl season, went 9-2 in the bowl games, crushed most of their opponents, so they flexed their muscle last year.
They did, and they needed to. I mean, that was a big thing. At this time last year, here in this hotel, in this place, answering for last year was the thing. Now it's how do you follow up last year, and it's fair, and you've got incredibly talented. I think you got two of the top three teams in the country when you look in the same division again, LSU and Alabama. I think Tennessee is a team that's going to be really, really, really well hyped. I think there are probably 6 teams that you could make a case for winning this conference, maybe 5, but you could make the case for 6. It's wide open. Again, you have the same fear. Is it too deep? Is it so deep that they knock themselves out of a playoff spot? But again, it's as much respected as it's ever been, and the reality is 2 losses and you're probably still fine. We've seen it before. So I think that it's very, very, very deep, which is what Greg Sankey and this conference would want.
Well, the thing they have going for them, they could probably survive 2 losses, but they're playing an 8-game conference schedule. Pac-12 and the Big 12 are playing the 9-game conference schedule. So is the Big 10. So history shows you don't go undefeated when you play a 9-game conference schedule. The last holdouts are the ACC and the SEC in terms of 8 games in the conference. So they have that going for them. Somebody could run the table, but somebody is going to lose in those other 3 conferences.
That's true.
Ohio State loses last year.
But, and as much as I hate that week in November when you see teams like Chattanooga, Charleston, Southern, and Austin Peay jump up on your schedule, which I can't stand that week in the SEC. You also get Clemson in week 1 against Auburn, Southern Cal in week 1 against Alabama, Wisconsin in week 1 against LSU at Lambeau. Yeah, they play 8 conference games, but they test themselves out. Most of the teams at the top of this league test themselves. I can forgive the 8 game. I love the round robin the Big 12 plays. They're the only ones that could play that because of a number of teams in the league. I'm a fan of 9-game schedules. I'd love to see this team do it, 9-game conference schedules. But as long as they're stepping outside of their league and playing good quality opposition early in the season, which they do, I can live with it.
There was a time when the University of Miami stepped on the field, and they stepped on the field with a certain aura. You could feel it. You could feel it. I think
I went to Oklahoma, so I remember that aura way too well in the 80s.
And so, but
I did not like Miami. Trust me.
Miami's played a couple of Southeastern Conference schools the last couple of years, Florida and South Carolina. And there was no question when they played in those games that both South Carolina and Florida, you could feel that they felt they were superior in the way they called the game, in the way they approached the game. Every part of the game, you could feel that a Southeastern Conference team felt superior.
Yeah.
And I think that's how the whole conference feels.
I think they've...
No matter who's playing.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at 8 of the last 10 national championships and you see Heisman trophies and you see the coaches in this conference, I think you have to feel that way. I don't know why they would think that they didn't have to be honest. I mean, it's, keep in mind, these coaches and players from each team are walking through this hotel, seeing 1,100 media members that want nothing more in the month of July than to talk to them. They lead SportsCenter in college football conversations. They've got a network. They are constantly told how great they are. And the vast majority of the time they go out on the field and they prove that they are as great as they're told that they are. So there's a swagger that comes to it, like those great Miami teams of the 80s and 90s. It was a swagger that the rest of the country didn't like. The SEC has that too. And Miami deserved every bit of swagger that they had in those days, and I think the SEC deserves to have every bit of it that they have now.
Are you buying the Tennessee hype this year?
Not as much as some. Not as much as some.
They finished with six in a row. I kind of remember Tennessee last year as blowing those games against Florida and Oklahoma. But then they did run the table at the end. They won 6 in a row. And
schedule lightened up heavily, though, at that time.
And they blew out Northwestern in the bowl game.
Yeah.
People do remember the bowl games. So they did finish on a high and carry a lot of momentum going into the season.
Yes, they did. But at the same time, just like last year, their first 7 games this season are very difficult. They're going to have to show really quickly that they've continued to come together on both lines of scrimmage, that they have guys for Josh Dobbs to throw the football to, that Jalen Hurd is as good as people have said that he is. I really like Tennessee. I think it's a 10-win team, but I don't think it's an Eastern Division champion. No, so I like him, but I'm not buying the hype that they're getting and that they're going to get all week here. They're going to be probably one of the 2 most discussed teams in this conference.
I love college football. Obviously, I do the University of Miami games.
Yeah.
And in college football, I think you look for every edge you can get. The big edge comes in scheduling. Auburn plays their first 5 games at home. Notre Dame, now go look in the ACC. Notre Dame's not a member of the ACC, but an independent. Notre Dame plays 3 games away from South Bend. They do have neutral site games, but when you play Notre Dame in a neutral site, it's not a neutral site.
Right. No, it's
so
not.
They play 3 games away from South Bend. Auburn plays their first 5 games at Auburn.
But are you looking at the teams that are coming to Auburn in those 5
games?
games?
They play Clemson at home.
LSU, Texas A&M.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a cakewalk, yeah.
But they're still at home. They don't leave until October.
But Auburn went 7-6 last year, and they were fortunate to get to that point. I'm okay. I'm okay with. I realize 5 in a row at home is steep, but again, we're seeing Clemson week 1, a team that just played in the national championship game, and they're going to be a top 2 team nationally, and they're doing it without a known starting quarterback right now. A million questions on defense. They're not probably better than an 8-win team at best. I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with it. When you look at the names that are coming to Jordan-Hare, I'm all right with it.
Les Miles last year goes from they want to knock him out to the 3rd best recruiting class to championship contender at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
How is he going to be measured this year?
Well, I mean, I don't know how he's going to be measured. My hunch is he probably needs to win the West, which won't be easy, although I think that they will. Maybe he'll be more measured, though, even more than that, by what the offense looks like. That's the biggest knock on him. Have they developed a quarterback? Is Brandon Harris going to take over? And if he doesn't, are they going to be afraid to put Danny Etling, the kid from Purdue, in? If it looks the same on offense, that's probably a problem for him.
I'm chuckling a little bit because, yes, it's going to be, here, Leonard Fournette,
right.
Here's the football, go.
But, guys, think about this. They've got 2 of the best, I would say 2 of the top 5 or 6 receivers in the country. If they can't find Trayvon Durrell and Malachi Dupree, that's a problem. That's a Cam Cameron problem. It's a Les Miles problem. It's a Brandon Harris or Danny Etling problem, and it's what's going to keep them out of the playoff. If they can get any kind of positive quarterback play, utilize those guys and open it up for Fournette, you're going to have a 2,200-yard rusher with a Heisman Trophy at the end of the season and a team in the playoff.
All right, Dari. SEC, one last question. Who do they have in the Final Four this year? They get 1 team, 2 teams? What do you think?
I think it's probably 1. And it's
Alabama.
It's whoever wins the West. I'm taking LSU, so that would be who I would say.
Okay, very good. Dari Nowkhah taking LSU to reach the Final Four. Dari, thanks very much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
Dari Nowkhah from ESPN.